If someone doesn't mind just quickly confirming in the chat that you can hear me okay, and you can also see my video. Thank you. Wonderful. Hi, Fouad.
Hi, Alana. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Very well, very well. First time trying the live storm, so
Yes.
technically the background is a virtual background like Zoom card, but it's good.
Yeah, this is my first time using it as well, so I will ask everyone to bear with us as we may run into a couple of small challenges here and there, but hoping that it's a good experience overall. Let's see. We also have Leila, wonderful, joining us from App Guardians as well. Hi, Leila.
Hello, hello.
All right. Well, we do have about 15 people here with us, and as more people join in, that will be just fine since there are really no interruptions compared to some of the other platforms that we use. That is one of the reasons why we switched over to Livestorm. I am having some issues with my headphones, so I'm actually going to just take these off. You guys can still hear me okay? We're good? Excellent. Okay, so I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to be here today. My name is Alanna Harvey. I'm the founder in residence here at Braavo, and if you are new to our office hours, basically what we're going to be doing is chatting for the next hour about some pretty specific topics related to app marketing. We have some app marketing experts here today from App Guardians. But before I give their introductions, I just wanted to give a quick update on the Livestorm platform that we are using. So this is the first time that we're running our office hours on Livestorm. Previously, we've been using Google Meet. So I ask again, just please bear with me in case we do run into any small issues. As you can see, if you're not a speaker, your audio and your video is disabled. If you would like to speak at some point, you can ask in the chat and I can add you as a speaker. Otherwise, what you can do is just post a question using the question feature in the bottom right corner. And that way we can answer your question on the fly, or we can also try to get to it at the end of the discussion during the extra 10 to 15 minutes that we'll leave for Q&A. So please feel free to use the chat, discuss amongst yourselves. I want this to be an interactive opportunity for everybody. And if you do have questions that you'd like to ask in the middle of the session, please feel free to use the question feature and we'll try to get to it while we're chatting. So before we begin, I'd love to give a quick introduction to our speakers. So with us today, we have Fouad Saeidi. He is the founder and CEO of App Guardians. Now, before starting his own app marketing agency, Fouad gained experience in some senior marketing positions for some very big app companies, which ultimately led him to start and launch App Guardians. In the last 4 years, App Guardians has helped over 100 app businesses, including some really big names in the health and wellness space. So 10% Happier, Better Sleep, formerly known as Relax Melodies, and also the affirmations app ThinkUp. As well as some gaming apps like Zynga's Farmville. So some really big names within the app economy. And in today's session, we'll be chatting all about ASO, SRO, and what is SRO? I've had a few people ask about that, so we'll dive really deep into that. Some paid UA strategies and best practices for 2023, and also what it's like working with an external marketing agency to grow your app business. I also wanted to just add that App Guardians is offering a 20% discount off their services to the Braavo community, and that's just for this quarter. So if you're thinking about bringing some marketing muscle into your team, now would definitely be a great time to connect with App Guardians. And we also have Leila from App Guardians with us as well. And she joined kind of last minute. So Leila, I'd love for you to also give your own quick intro. I know you're a search specialist, App Guardians, if you don't mind quickly mentioning what you do.
Yeah, of course. So like I said, I'm Leila. I am the search manager here at AGN. I have a background in web dev and SEO, which is kind of how I transitioned into app marketing. I've been with AGN for about a year and a half. So, as an ASO and AC specialist, I specialize in just optimizing app product pages to improve visibility, drive organic installs, and I suppose just reduce the overall cost of UA and paid marketing efforts.
Awesome. Love that. Well, thank you guys both for being here today. Thank you, Fouad. If there's anything, was there anything I missed in your introduction that you'd like me to add?
No, I think you covered it. I started my career in app marketing in 2013. That was over a decade ago, where things were different, smaller, less apps were in the marketplace overall. A lot of things were new, and if you think about it, smartphones were around really from like when was the first iPhone like launched? Was it
2007?
7? Yeah, the adoption was really not till 2010. So less and less people, and there wasn't as many Android devices as well. So a lot of we've seen a lot of changes in the industry in the past decade. So I've got to get the experience working from really, really small environments to working with large organizations. So it's been a great journey.
That's awesome. I'd love to dive into that a little bit deeper. So what brought you from being on the employee side of an app company, a larger app company, to deciding that you wanted to go off and start your own app marketing agency and take on the founder role like many of the founders within Braavo's community?
Yeah. So I started back in the days, the first app job that I had was for a gaming startup. I kind of realized that I loved my passion for gaming, kind of led me to work for a gaming company, and we were a publisher bringing games from overseas and publish it globally. So I set a lot of my foundations there, and then I led the app marketing for Sage, large enterprise with 15,000 employees, and we had 1,000 apps. So I worked a lot with different stakeholders, cross-functional teams, and product marketing, product management, with marketing teams, with brand, with creative, and it was great transformation, digital transformation for a company of that size. Then down the road, I realized there's a lack of consistency in go-to-market for a lot of different departments, from launch to rollout to excellence and growth. So eventually I realized that I want to have bigger impact for different apps, and I want to be part of that full journey. And when App Growth Network was born, really we started getting the first consulting gig, and and I still had a full-time job, and it was a great company, allowed me to kind of do both at the same time, and they knew that this is what I want to do, and my passion is there. And it's a lot of startup hustles, like a lot of people here on the call, probably we can all relate to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, one thing you mentioned to me when we were breaking out and discussing this office hours beforehand was one of your earlier companies, a fellow Canadian company. I know you're based out in BC. I'm actually in Toronto, so a few Canadians on here, which is pretty cool. But Relaxed Melodies, now known as Better Sleep, and just sort of how you got in touch with the company of that size early on.
So it's a really interesting story. And actually, I had a podcast with Simon a few months ago. It's a good friend of mine now. They had a really good exit as well. They finally, after 13 years, they made a really good exit, and now they're part of a larger health company.
Oh, cool.
So, how I met Simon, I had actually so when I first the company, we didn't have budget to hire employees. We got some practicum students from school, and we did and I realized there was a conference in Montreal, and I said, I'm going to attend this conference, and the practicum student helped we do a bit of digging on who's attending, and we just do preparation. And I slept on the plane at night from BC to go to, I didn't want to pay for one night of hotel, and then just buy the extra night, just attend in the morning, 5 hours time zone difference, which was not recommended, honestly, because you can attend the conference, and there were some guys that they were sleeping on the plane. It's like, I have a conference to attend, and they're like, who cares?
I feel like that's a classic startup story.
Yeah, so we attended the conference, and I met Simon, and he was in the middle of making a huge decision for like a tool that he was to purchase, and he said, have you used this tool? I'm like, yeah, I've used it in the previous kind of journey. And he's like, can you help me out with this decision? And he was just like, I mean, I'll just talk to you. And it wasn't easy. Obviously, that they were established at 50 million downloads back then, and it took me, I think, 2 months of text messaging back and forth about, like helping him out. Genuinely, it was not really like to sell to him, and then later on it was just to land one of our first contracts with them, which was great for the company. It was a good win to do something and have to add that to our portfolio. So yeah, that was the story of us working with them.
So how did I mean, if this was one of your earlier companies that you started working with, how did you step in and make a difference if they were already generating 50 million downloads, you said, at the time?
Yeah, so it was, again, companies of that size there's a lot of hypothesis, and we're thinking of globalization for that. So we were thinking of like now, and they had a portfolio of different apps, from relaxed melodies to they have a meditation app as well, 6-7 different apps, just trying to help them out to figure out which app we should focus on. In Google Play, we tackled Google Play versus iOS, and really going after like localization in different markets, and picking, like, when you get that big, it's about what else can we win that's an incremental 5% win and here and there in different market that could have a significant impact in long term, right? That leads them to an exit kind of down the road. Obviously, it wasn't because of us, but million different factors for companies like that. But I think that was, a great thing. And also, it was to be honest, it was a hypothesis that we also developed that we failed. We hypothesized that there's going to be a significant impact if you create some links on the internet for web SEO to have an impact on your Google Play. And we said, let's prove it right or wrong, which it was a lot of work, a lot of hustle, and then we just didn't win it to the level. But hey, that was good enough for the company to know, don't put a lot of effort on this. Go put your effort elsewhere, for example. And I think that is fine. That is part of the journey. Even all strategy is sometimes about what not to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so we'll get more to the discussion about the agency side of App Guardians a bit later on, but I'd love to dig a little bit deeper into that sort of App Store optimization. It sounds like those were some of the things that you were working on with Relaxed Melodies, and now known as Better Sleep. So you talk a bit about localization. Is that something that you often see some of your clients come to you with questions about? Or what are some of the more common challenges that you do see founders coming to you hoping to get addressed by working with App Guardians?
Is that something, Leila, you want to address, or I can?
Yeah, well, sorry. Yeah, either one of you, feel free to jump in.
So I'll talk to some of it, and Leila can add to anything related to App Store optimization. One of the biggest challenge for apps, positioning. When you think about, like, okay, that Relaxed Melodies, completely the positioning was defined that they're asleep. They're out for sleeping, right? So they just want a lot of sounds to sleep, right? Sometimes it's just like really about, are we a meditation app, or are we a sleep app, or are we a coaching app, or are we a bit of both, or and who is going to use our app, right? So I think, because there's a lot of apps out there that may do the same. At the end, it's people's time spent in the evening. They have this half an hour to spend, either they're meditating, or they're playing game, or they're on social media, or they're reading, right? So, or whatever that their hobby or activities are. So it's really fighting for people's attention, but why we are different compared to someone else, and how we defend that position to that selected audience. And, like, for example, ThinkUp, they are the number one affirmation app. And they're the best app for that. So let it be. It may not have a huge audience beyond the point. You might be enough to have, like over a million downloads and serve the purpose for what it does as a niche category, right? Whereas some, they're games, they're like mass audience, right? So it's about also understanding the reality of the market size, and is globalization for this app or not? It's not for everyone either, because of the culturalization. Not every cultures might, I mean, everybody needs to sleep. So that language kind of localization, globalization makes sense. Whereas, so for some cultures, some of these concepts, and also for something like relaxed melodies, there's a lot of sounds that you can record, and in any language, the sounds are the same sounds. Whereas affirmation, you got to translate it now to lots of different languages. Or coaching apps, you need to actually have somebody speaking that language. Can you operationally execute on that?
Right.
What do you think about it? Because you can have poor reviews from different countries, and they may not even resonate to why am I downloading this app that doesn't speak my language or the culture.
So is that one of the things that you would be evaluating, an app that might be coming with questions or with curiosity to work with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely to identify markets. And again, English itself is large enough because you can now target, if you're not a location-based app. If you're a location-based app, that's totally defined. Even that is not always defined, because think about, let's say, ride sharing or even dating. Like, you start from a radius and you try to expand on a radius, right? Where are we going to start? What market are we going to start? Why this market versus the other market? But if it is something that is like a coaching app or mindfulness, but even English, is English going to be English, US, Canada, Australia, UK, Scandinavian countries speak a lot of good English? If yes, is that going to work or not? Because that market expands. Or is it an app that's just purely focused on US for like a banking kind of situation, right? Because of infrastructure related.
Right. And what would you say for apps that are facing, even though it could be a niche category, there is a lot of competition. So, I mean, Sleep Stories as one of them is a very competitive space. And so how, at least from an ASO perspective, would you suggest an app optimize their pages, maybe their keywords, et cetera, to be more competitive within a space that is already quite competitive?
Yeah. Leila, you did something on that?
Yeah. So, for founders who are serving a more competitive category, apps that solve very specific and well-known needs do reap the most benefits from visibility, from a keyword optimization perspective, since, a majority of the keyword searches in the App Store result from short tail keywords such as meditation, for example. So that said, building awareness for your app is highly competitive in those categories. So it does require a lot of external sources of traffic just to rank for those organic terms. You'll also be able to understand which audience drives the most value to your app when you create those marketing strategies. So you can start targeting those users specifically. Also, I think what's really important, a lot of people kind of forget, is you should just optimize your app against competitors. Identify their store focus and strategies, leverage those repeatable patterns. You can also test out different USPs and the impact of those just by regularly monitoring their reviews and ratings. Try to identify some shortcomings and help differentiate and increase your competitive advantage.
Okay. Yeah, there's just so much to think about when it comes to ASO, it seems, and I can see the benefits of having an external arm sort of there doing a lot of that for you, because there's just like so much to think about. Okay, so on the flip side of trying to remain competitive in a highly competitive ASO situation, I actually had an app founder that I was speaking to the other day he mentioned something like the fact that people don't know what they're looking for to come across his app in the first place. So they wouldn't really know what keywords to find. It served such a niche that it would be difficult to even understand or know what you're looking for to come across it. So what would you suggest to someone facing a situation like that, where there is a need for it, and people use it. Like, as far as I know, they get thousands of users a month. But what would you suggest doing in a situation like that?
Yeah, so it might sound counterintuitive, but apps with a less defined market do need to incorporate less niche keywords, and they want to start going after more generic keywords in the metadata. For example, instead of a keyword, following the same line, sleeping for anxiety, it would just be sleep. Something like that. They can focus their metadata there and then educate users on the unique selling proposition once they actually land on the page through messaging on the app product page, but also through the creatives as well. I think one thing that is really important to note is that a lot of the time people think that, especially with these niche categories, that you can just drive as much traffic as you want through, paid advertising. And I think it's important to just say, use that carefully. When you target the wrong users and they're starting to install the apps, it can leave them really confused and irritated. And let's be honest, people who have a negative experience are more likely to leave negative feedback. So it's really important to prevent the right users, or I suppose this will prevent the right users from downloading the app. And in general, having negative reviews and poor retention are actually quite negative signals in the App Store algorithms. So it could be really harmful and just, yeah, harm those rankings and reviews. So it's always important to be mindful of that.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll probably get a little bit more into that when we're talking about subscription revenue optimization, so SRO, a little later on. We do have a question from the audience. So Chris from Braavo, he's asking, how can you use paid Apple search ads to help drive your ASO strategy? I'm going to test out this feature. There's the question, how can you use paid Apple search ads to help drive your ASO strategy? What do you guys suggest for that?
Yeah, so it's hand in hand, really. You can't do one without the other. I think Apple Search Ads is really great for mining those valuable keywords. So if you have a keyword list, you'll be able to understand what users most resonate with, which drives the most conversions. And for organic, when, Apple doesn't really care where the installs come from. They just want to see you getting installs on a specific keyword. So if you can start getting those installs through Apple Search Ads, you're going to organically increase your rank in the App Store. So again, here, it's really important to go after really relevant terms, because if you start targeting, you're just trying to cast a wide net, it can actually, again, negatively impact your rankings. But yeah, it's a bit hand in hand. ASO, the higher you rank for terms organically, the more likely you'll be showing up for Apple Search Ads. And then again, the more installs you can get on a keyword in Apple Search Ads, it increases your organic ranking. So it sounds like an endless circle.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot to learn from pairing your ASA strategy along with your ASO strategy and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Another thing I wanted to know, so with my own app business, Flipped, we were featured a number of times on the App Store. I think it ended up being hundreds of times. It sort of started with being app of the day, and then from there on, we were featured pretty regularly in various category features like best study tools, that sort of thing. And I know that's sort of like a dream for some founders to finally, get that app of the day position or get those features on the App Store. How would you say that can even be a strategy? Like, how would you suggest a founder going about that approach, like getting featured on the App Store, and how it impacts your overall ASO strategy?
Yeah, so I can kind of speak to that as well. So I mean, let's be honest, it is kind of like hitting the jackpot. So it is, it's a really strong discoverability tool, and it increases your app, the visibility. It can help your brand awareness efforts, and it just pretty much signals the quality of your app to users. I think what's important when you're trying to get featured is you really want to tell a good story. So it's really important to optimize the user experience within the app, create the really beautiful and eye-catching creatives. And then at the end, if you are submitting to get featured by the App Store, you need to tell that story. So you need to tell there are real people, going over these applications. So you need to tell them how your app best serves the group. And I think it's really great. Featurings are a really great way to re-engage those lapsed users, and it shortens the user journey as well. So because the app can get installed directly from the feature rather than having to navigate to the product page. So right. A lot of the times you can, just expect your impressions and app product page visitors to go up. And of course, this will hopefully result in a spike of downloads as well. So it increases the keyword and category rankings.
Yeah, is that something you found happens? Like if some of the app companies that you guys work with, you're working on their ASO strategy, you're helping them optimize the user journey. Do you find that just as a result of that, they end up being featured because Apple recognizes, oh wow, this app has made improvements. They're definitely doing a better job targeting their audience. Do you find sort of starting with those strategies could help lead to getting that recognition from Apple?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, there's that human factor, but there's the algorithm factor as well. So again, of course, they're all generated. And so a lot of the featurings are automatic. What they're looking for is, an optimized metadata, whether or not you're targeting keywords, if there's any users that find your app through related keywords, your retention, all of these things. If we can start creating a really strong app marketing strategy and optimize all of those things before we even start going for the featuring, once we see organically rankings and category rankings improve, we actually do see a lot of the time, people start getting featured. For example, we worked with an app, Cardiogram, who was featured almost on a daily basis for about 6 months. And we also work with You Go Wake Up, which is a pretty well-known yoga app. And they've been getting featured quite regularly as well, just through those efforts.
Cool. Yeah, I can see the same thing, from my experience. Something similar happened with us. It did start with getting the app of the day, but I found the more just marketing efforts that we were putting into our App Store pages, our descriptions, our keywords, all of that. And then also just optimizing the user journey, improving the app experience. That definitely got, on the radar of the app editors team. So I definitely recommend that for anyone who is dreaming about getting featured on the App Store. So I noticed that we did lose Fouad. Leila, I don't know if you have contact with him and you can find out what happened. On my end, it's saying something with his internet happened. So
I did get a message. Looks like the laptop rebooted, so he's just logging back in.
Okay. No problem. I'm glad you're here for us to continue. So I'd love to jump over to our discussion around SRO, which is subscription revenue optimization. So I know internally here at Braavo, a few people were wondering, what's that acronym, SRO? And I understand it is a bit of a newer acronym in the app world, but one that is extremely important for app developers, founders, marketers to be also thinking about. If you think about your ASO strategy is what gets people to install your app, and your SRO strategy, I would imagine, is around retention, conversions, really turning them into happy, hopefully paying subscribers. So I'd love to know what are, in sort of your own words, what is SRO and what's the importance of it in today's app economy? Oh, one second. Okay, yeah, your mic, you were muted for a second there.
Oh, my apologies. Look at us go with all our technical difficulties.
Hey, that's why I prefaced Livestorm. We're new, bear with us. There might be some challenges here and there, but so far so good.
It's a lot of Wednesday energy here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you know what? Sorry, guys. My laptop rebooted, and I have a contingency planning now. I have 2 laptops at the same time. One that loads faster, so just in case this disconnects me again. So that's another contingency planning for doing a webinar. Just have 2 laptops on at the same time.
There you go. No problem. That actually is not a bad call because you never know, right?
You never know, right?
Of course. So, Fouad, we just moved away from talking about ASO and we were jumping into SRO. And I was asking Leila, and would also love your 2 cents on really what is subscription revenue optimization and the importance of it in today's app economy.
Yeah. So actually, subscription revenue optimization. A lot of apps have, a few years ago when App Store was just new, and there was already a practice of free apps, paid apps. Sorry, you actually purchase an app, and a lot of people, some people's made it, and it was a hard one, but it was more common to pay to use an app. Then later on, they realized, well, the whole free economy, free trial, right? As more apps are coming in, we have to be competitive. So a lot of companies these days, they actually realize that to actually thrive, you have to get customers in the long term. And subscription is the way to go. It's not applicable to everything. Like for example, like for games, for retail. I mean, for retail, you still could have like how Uber's doing it for like memberships or Uber One or Plus or Instacart to have loyalty plans, and there is subscription, of course, right? But more common forms are in health, fitness, fintech, where you actually subscribe to like to dating, to social, right, to receive. So the revenue that we receive from people depends on so many things in the funnel. Retention day 1, day 3, day 7, day 30, and all the events that also lead to a purchase. You have to develop the habit, form the habit, and at some point you want to get money throughout the journey before the paywall starts even.
Mhm.
The earlier the better. If you can sell people annual, go for it. Yeah, you might lose a few months, but you have guarantee money that these users are not going anywhere. So definitely annual is better. So the arts and science behind how we can optimize a conversion throughout different stages, with creatives, with offers, with push notifications, with combination of SMS and email to
Mhm.
get users hooked on our product, but also to convert them at the right time. So segmentation really for the right conversion. That is subscription revenue optimization. And in today's economy, we know how economy is. We don't have to talk about it. So purchase power on a from macroeconomical trend, purchase power shrinks. If you used to spend $100 easily on Duolingo or language learning, now today you might go to library and borrow a book, or go on YouTube and learn something for free. If
Mhm.
you're in working class or you're on budget, you don't have to order from Uber. You can go to grocery store and actually cook at home. It's a reality of the world we live in. Apps were evaluated like at 25x at some point, and this was actually some of the trends that we saw from some economists. And Duolingo was like 4 or 5x compared to when it was 25x. So this is the reality of the world we live in. So we have to be smarter and sharper with how we can actually like optimize the revenue and stand out.
Yeah, Leila, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's really interesting too, because subscription, it's become, the honestly dominant revenue model for a lot of mobile apps. And actually in 2022, for the first time, subscriptions for apps outside of the game space overtook the games. And I think there's going to be a lot of developers who are starting to jump on this, and they're going to try to capitalize on that. So I think it's really important to optimize, all of the elements of your growth strategy. So that's acquisition, your subscription conversions, retention, reactivating those subscriptions or subscribers, that lapsed. And it's really important to get ahead of the game on that.
Absolutely. I think for those that joined our last office hours, we spoke at length about paywall optimization. And so we did jump through a few examples on how to optimize your paywall, like having a longer paywall versus a shorter one. Talking a lot about free trials and sort of that sort of thing when it came to optimization. Are there any sort of trends that you noticed in the last 12 months that you think are going to be dominant in 2023 that apps should be thinking about when it comes to SRO?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to paywall optimization, like the most important part is segmentation, and predictive churn is really important. With right now, we kind of got to get the signals to know which user is going to leave our app. Either they're leaving a review early or rating somehow, or they go through customer support and they have a ticket that they can use something what they want, right? I'll give you this example. I complained to Uber Eats for something, and I mentioned, and I was just 2-3 times that my food wasn't delivered, that I'm done with Uber Eats and I'm going to go to DoorDash or something like that. I'm not kidding. Within a day or two, I got retargeted, and I was sitting at home with kids, and I have smart TV, right? If the kids were using YouTube or something, they have my account logged in, an ad from Uber. If you're unhappy with something, there's 3 months, literally 3 months of Uber Eats, the membership for free or whatever. That's predictive churn. They know. I've used that somewhere in the chat support, but retargeted me with an ad now. So things like this. So you know you're predicting churn.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically really important for paywall, because then you know if this guy is not going to pay, right?
Right.
But we talked about getting money up front is really important. We really have to do good segmentation, a full stack life cycle marketing, like in these kind of jobs. And when we hire for these roles, we hire people that they're literally like a decade experience for full stack life cycle marketing, because you got to know CRM, you got to know analytics, you got to know sentiment tracking. You got to understand acquisition channels. Okay, so I got this guy from TikTok. He might be different than I got somebody from Apple ads or Facebook ads. The behavior might be different. You have to look at the attribution, cohort them to different segments. And for these people, we have different campaigns happening, and we write copy for that. So senior copywriting, senior graphic design, creative, good offers, and also going to know who else is offering what. And there's lots of tools that you could partner up with.
Mm-hmm.
Like in San Francisco a couple of months, and that was really the theme of the conference. A lot of people are talking about different tools that you can use, and these tools have a lot of these things already incorporated that you can actually leverage. And I think it's really important for people to be aware of all this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just sounds like there's so many things to think about. I know these are all questions that I have always been asking when it comes to how we're retaining users in our app. Now, I guess one thing that I'm wondering would be how does someone optimize? You know, some of this subscription revenue optimization you're talking about is a lot around how you get someone through like a paid ad, and then if you are, you know, if they're churning out or they have indications that they might be churning out, how to get them back in with another paid ad. So what are some more organic methods, or for an app that may be growing not so much with that performance marketing side of the engine running? What would you suggest for them?
Well, first of all, the paid ad for those churning customers is not going to cost a lot of money, because it's retargeting. When you think about it, you're serving ads for these 1,000 people that you know they've complained and they've mentioned some keywords or they've said something in the customer support. You really query them like on Facebook and retarget them. So it's really not expensive. But you can do CRM, email marketing. You can do SMS, which is if you know these days you've opted in. There are tools out there. We work with like Lean Plum, One Signal, MoEngage, Clever Tap, Braze, like literally all these analytic tools that there are a lot of. Some of these are one-stop platforms that they have email and SMS and push and everything incorporated in one, and then you can try different ways. It doesn't cost as much to send emails or like to SMS. Also retarget these people, but from organic, I think you can probably tackle social. That's what I think I could think of. How to, which again, it will be social ad, because I mean, in our general organic strategy, we can probably like talk about like in general how we are as a company. It's not easy to target someone on social and just honestly DM them, which I think is really private. You don't want to receive from Uber Eats like today. Hey, it's probably more that one-on-one, but I think email and SMS would be the best.
Yeah.
I think even with the paid ads, a lot of people do focus, like we just want to get as many subscriptions as possible. So that's where a lot of the efforts go. But I think another thing that we need to start thinking about is A/B testing the paywalls, but also focusing on like the subscription specific analytics. Because if you don't understand where the revenue comes from or subscriptions in real time, you're never going to understand what the pain points are maybe in subscriber onboarding, and you won't be able to properly do retention efforts and increase your average lifetime of those subscriptions. And I think moving forward, it's going to be a hybrid approach. Right now, there's a lot of apps that have only paid apps. That's kind of how things are going. But I think you're going to be able to see, or you're going to start seeing a lot of apps that are trying to offer a bit more of a hybrid approach. Because let's be honest, within the first 5 seconds, if I'm stuck on a paywall and I can't move forward, I'm probably going to uninstall the app. So having more options there is really, really important.
Right. And that I see as being a way where developers and founders can also learn about what is really making your app sticky. So which features are making them stick around, which features are ultimately the reason why they're converting. I know it can be really challenging to think of things that way because like you just want someone to subscribe because otherwise they're just, in your app and they're a free user. But you need to think about them as providing you with really valuable data to understand what's working well and how to optimize that experience and how can you turn those free users who are actually enjoying your app into someone who would be willing to pay for it. Okay, so I think the next topic that I'd love for us to chat about, and this is, I think, a good segue because we were sort of already going there, but it is paid UA. Now, I know that before when we were discussing, Fouad, you mentioned that some founders and marketing teams are having challenges with Facebook, and I know that seems to be industry-wide. And that they're doing some exploration with TikTok and user-generated content. So I'd love to get some of your ideas on where you think that's headed, and what are some of the things that people should be focused on this year in paid UA?
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, I still think that Facebook is a big marketplace. And again, depends on, like TikTok is really, really good if your app is targeting Gen Z and millennials, like earlier millennials, even late millennials, social apps, fitness. Definitely it's #1 trending social app, right? And we know things with Facebook are, as a corporation, as an organization, they have their hiccups with the whole hiccups with privacy and how things are. The tracking is complicated. But still, I think a lot of people that they have purchase power, they're a bit older generation, they're on Facebook, they're using Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking for myself, I don't know if that's really always true. I'm the true representative of but I'm old, but I'm not convinced that I don't have TikTok on my phone. My kid has, and she's 6 and she's got TikTok and she deleted always. And somehow they get to it. So, but in reality, yeah, I mean, the next generation, they're definitely going to grow up with TikTok, and I think having a TikTok strategy, there is cheaper, of course, for cost per install, like almost a third of what we see sometimes on Facebook.
Okay.
You can develop creatives, very inexpensive, user-generated content. There are tools out there that we pay them like a couple $100, and within a day or two, I don't know what the turnaround time, the videos are created quickly to upload.
Mm-hmm.
You can even do revenue split with social influencers out there. Let's say if you want to get a fitness app viral, you can find some, create dynamic links or through third-party attribution tools to track to see the performance of each of them and do rev share model with them. There's a lot of kids out there, I'm not kidding, that they grow up knowing that they can make money from, like if there's, depends on the genre, right? But they become influencers and they get a follower and download. And sometimes some apps are not always monetized well, but they get a lot of users. If you get users and you can advertise and you can have a good exit strategy with user base, comes money at some point. It may not be immediate. If you have tolerance and patience, you'll monetize it in the long run, right? Because there's users, those users eventually going to have purchase power and then roll out to another product that eventually they're going to have purchase power to purchase, right? So I think definitely try it out. Don't be shy to if you don't have budget, at least, a couple $1,000 from here and there just to try out, I mean, our team does roll these things out really fast and they track it well as well. But when it comes to Apple ads are second to cost. I mean, Google ads are really cost effective, especially for Android. But you know what you're getting with Google. There's no audience targeting. Still, it's been years that Google has this UAC product, and it's still based on your creative and your metadata, and they just target. But we have seen cases that they get good bang for their bucks. So it might work for your genre. So try it out. It's just the easiest and cheapest. I don't even need tracking for Android for UAC to try it out. So I know the challenge for a lot of startup founders, though, Alanna, they are skeptical with the whole paid concept.
Yep.
And I understand. I totally get it. But you gotta create a bit of momentum and snowball effect. There is not such thing as organic and free. Everything costs money. And it's either it's like even free, it's almost time. Like this ASO that we're talking about.
Yep.
You get to sit there and optimize the heck out of everything is tedious. Did you have the vision to create an app to actually sit in front of an ASO dashboard and try to shuffle keyboards all day long? Because we have clients that they forget about their vision. They just, at some point, they're digging into keyboard shuffling.
Right.
But was that the purpose they started this company from the beginning? Probably not. But they just fell into this. Now they're just going with the flow. In reality, they need to take some steps back, and should they spend their time with partnerships for fundraising, for things that are more important for the entrepreneurial journey, part of what they do, and delegate.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part, but especially for solopreneurs, to go from 1 to 2 people. For some people can't, and that's the hardest part. For me, from the day I started the company, the first contract that I had was a $500 contract before I even realized one of these. And I said, I'm not doing the work for it. I found somebody who will do this so that I can still make $100 or $200, doesn't matter. I know I could do it, but I don't want to be the person who always want to do it. So, because I want to focus on another vision.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a tricky part. There are tools out there, there's platforms out there. Apple ads, they're cost effective. They'll help your ASO. They have limitations. You can't always get, even though you can bid $30, you cannot, because Apple's all about there's only 1 or 2 apps that they can show. Only one. There's really one placement, right? And it's about relevancy. If your TTR and your CBR is low, which is tap-through rate and conversion rate, Apple's not going to show your ad over someone else.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about, so there's no guarantee that, like when I was working for Sage, we were willing to bid up to $30 just to show above Intuit QuickBooks for US, and Apple wouldn't show our ads because of the market domination that Intuit and QuickBooks they had for
Right.
just accounting and bookkeeping keywords. So it didn't matter how much you bid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not guaranteed that you will even be placed.
So I love the one of the things that you said there around founders and solopreneurs and entrepreneurs struggling with delegation. I know as a co-founder and the head of marketing of my own app business, I've definitely struggled with that over the years. And it just sounds so appealing, the idea of working with an agency who becomes this external arm and this external source of so much knowledge on a very specific subject, which is like growing your app in all these different ways. And so I know before when we debriefed, you mentioned like some of the sort of criteria, I guess you could say, you might look for in some of the app businesses you work with. And I think it'd be helpful for our audience to know what it might be like working with you guys, and what you would want sort of in return from working with teams.
Yeah. So obviously we've been around for 4.5 years. This is our 5th year, right? Like the first few years in business, you would just welcome anyone to collaborate with you. As we outgrow, like we still have a lot of early apps. We welcome early apps to work with us. It's about who we work with. And if you hire us, you trust us, that we'll do our work. If you want to micromanage us, we don't like to work with you because that doesn't work out. So if like Leila's probably in a year and a half touched 50 apps to optimize,
So if Leila give a recommendation, you want to challenge her why you did this. Tell me how you did this. What tools did you use? I want to go and, eager to delegate at some point. And also update it. If he gave you a recommendation, it's been a month and you haven't updated it because you're so busy, then we can't execute on what we plan. So I think ideally have somebody else. I'm a CEO. I usually, if I work with external people, I usually have someone in my team to deal with them. Because if I'm looking into something, I'll really try to get deep involved. That's what's great when there's there's co-founders and co-founders, because one person is focusing on something and the other co-founder is involved. Or ideally more than one people teams. As I said, if there is only one solopreneur that we work with, sometimes they just have too many things on their plate. And that's why we developed this. Hopefully we'll roll this out by the end of this month, if not next month for sure, a product market fit assessment to offer it to many, many people for them to realize what is the next step. What should be their next step? Should they be hiring an agency? Should they be hiring a director of marketing? Should they be getting a co-founder? Should we be raising fund? Should they focus on having more viral channels for them to roll their apps? Should they have to establish more partnerships? It's really important. If I knew what I know today, I wouldn't have probably taken 20-30% of people's money in the past few years, because they were so early. I think they were better off to come to us 6 months after, a year after. I had this discussion last night with a client of mine who's a good friend. We were playing squash together, and I will help them out for sure, because they were earlier. But I said, I wish you kind of came 6 months after, a year after, and both of us. Well, what do we know better a year and a half ago, right? But that doesn't matter. But I think we can help everybody out, anybody out. The least is to give them a product market fit assessment.
Yeah. It sounds like at least if they're interested in working with you, you can provide them sort of a roadmap for, if it's not today, maybe it's 6 months from now.
Yeah, and honestly, that assessment we're trying to roll it out at $99, which I think a lot of people can afford to pay $99 to get this assessment, but at least know their next move, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully we can productize this so that mass market can use it, and it's just good karma in the community. And once people know about this, right, and then they kind of figure out is this the right time to hire an agency or not. But when they work with us, we want to set ourselves for success. We want to have the right pace, the right tech stack. We want SDKs to work. We don't want to give recommendation. We can't. There are clients that they work with. They start working with us. It's been a month after they can't figure out Facebook SDK, figure out an attribution tracker SDK. They can't update their apps. Their creatives, they can't somehow upload it. So the ecosystem has to work well, and it's just like a healthy working relationship. We have Slack channels every day. We work with them like another arm of their company. Very close dynamic. They can tag us, they can talk to us. Within a couple hours, we get back to them. We don't take more than 20 projects at the same time. Right now we have 15. We don't want to take more than. We want to be selective, and we want to have a good synergy. It's like a relationship, right?
Yeah. I love this, because I think a lot of people, as you said, they might be afraid to spend money, either when it comes to paid UA or the idea of working with an agency. But I think it sounds like if you feel like you might be ready for something like this, it might make sense to at least start the conversation, because you guys have so much experience working with so many different app businesses of all sizes that you can also even just provide a learning experience for founders, so that they can walk away knowing, what might be the next best move for us right now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Awesome.
I think it's a great idea.
That's great. So we do have a few questions in the chat that I just want to address. So we've got Logan here who's asking, what's your experience around paid UA for regional apps? And part 2 of the question is, which paid UA channels do you see as most or least effective? So those are 2. They're asking your experience for regional apps for paid UA, and which channels do you see as most or least effective?
I would ask Logan, what stage of your journey are you? If you're super early, um, focus on your audience. Depends on versus stage. If you're early, you want to prove your product. So get to Facebook, regional, you get target to granular level to audience, age, demographic. You might be paying $10 an install. Doesn't matter. If you're early, super early, I just don't know what stage he's at, but if he wants to, so that I can, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Logan, if you wanted to jump in, you can let me know in the chat and I can invite you to speak if that's something you'd like to do. He's saying that they're super early.
Right. So yeah, just put on Facebook. Don't worry about what your cost per install is. Focus on, if you were to get, let's say, do two different ad groups, one for like, the audience, age, gender, and education, depends on the kind of app that it is as well, right? And one maybe per radius and location. So if you want to, for example, try, like in California, I'm just saying San Diego versus La Jolla, I'm just saying, right? So you want to kind of try a radius to see, well, did that perform better for whatever this is or not? And then you want to slowly expand per radius. Hello again.
Hey.
Hey. All right. So we got that working.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Did you want-
if I can do a 30-second summation.
Sure.
We're a regional app. We are like a kayak for concert tickets focused on Portland and Austin. So these are medium-sized markets. We've done our own paid UA on Facebook and Instagram, doing cost caps around, between $9 and $11 with some amount of success there. So when you said 10, that seems to resonate. 10 is not a great number, but the thing we've heard is that don't spend your time on Apple search ads or Google app campaigns because their algorithms don't work well if you're only regional. And spend time on Facebook and Instagram. And like you said, don't worry as much about the CPI, even if it's really high.
Right. I think for apps, we work with so many location-based apps as well. Like ASO, focus on app optimization. It's really not about what it's about positioning, because your ratings and reviews are gonna matter. So if you're, let's say, I'm just saying, like was a kayak rental app?
It's like a kayak for concert tickets.
So if you somehow cannot have the tickets and you get people from the wrong location and say, well, I'd log into this app and I didn't get my ticket, and then it's going to have negative user experience. It's going to hurt you in the long run. So just really be super targeted. So that's why sometimes people launch apps like, I don't want ASO. I actually don't want people to find me in different locations. Just focus on good creatives, good creative testing, see which creatives are winning on Facebook, which audience is winning. And you're slowly going to expand your market. With some users, you're going to get feedback about location and radius and how some apps like dating apps work. They make some money from their radius, they put that money back and they start expanding the radius, right? So explore that Facebook, knowing that you may not get the best tracking, you might get more expensive CPI, but you're going to refine your audience week over week and have good creatives to be tested. So you're really A/B testing that.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to add to that, Leila?
Yeah, I think, kind of going on to people overlooking ASO, it's just so important. No matter where you get people or how you're driving traffic to the App Store, it's the last thing they're going to see. So you're going to want to optimize the product page. There's also some really, really great tools that Google and iOS offer. So for example, custom product pages would be a fabulous opportunity here because you can target those specific users. Let's say you're looking to target users who are trying to get tickets to more rock concerts or venues versus like R&B, things like that. You can start hyper targeting those users using those custom product pages, and then you'll be able to understand, what users do drive the most traffic. Also, there's other UA channels outside of paid search. There's search traffic, obviously, and social traffic, but there's also influencer traffic, referrals, word of mouth. TV, print, and display people just do not, pay enough attention to anymore. So these are other things that you can utilize for those location-based apps. Also, there's other discovery platforms. So for example, we do work with an app who is a very hyper location-based, kind of like an Uber type app. And there's a platform called Waze Ads where you can actually advertise your app in cars. So it's things like that. You're going to want to try to get a little creative and localize that way.
Awesome.
Leila, you nodded your head when I said Google Ads and Apple search ads are challenging on a regional basis. That's the feedback I've gotten. And I saw you nodding pretty vigorously.
Yeah, I am a firm believer. It's difficult because, for example, on Apple search ads, you can't actually target by region. You can target by certain cities, but we can't do LA County, for example. So you are limited there as well. When you start adding those refinements, then you do lose out on a lot of important data because right now, with a lot of the security measures that were introduced in the app stores, you just don't get a lot of information anymore. So, if you are trying to target just Portland, half the users that you target, it won't get shown up because they have those security measures. And you're probably just going to be, your CPA is going to skyrocket just because you're going to be spending a little bit and it doesn't always result in an install. So I would say stay away from those search traffics and really focus on those discovery platforms or influencer and referrals.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Logan. And thank you for popping out. That I'm glad that experience worked. Just added him to the stream. Yeah. So I will be taking you out now. Okay, so we are on the hour. Any other questions? We did just have one more asking if the link is going to be to this recording will be sent afterwards. Yes. You should be getting it. That's the beauty of live stream. You should be getting it, live storm. You should be getting it like pretty well within 30 minutes of this ending. And for those who didn't attend, and you can also share the link as well with your colleagues. So if that's it for questions, Leila, Fouad, did you guys want to add anything else that we didn't touch upon?
No, you've been great. Thanks, Alanna. Again, we have a really great, healthy partnership with Braavo, and they're amazing to work with as well. We actually have a really good synergy with the type and size of companies that we actually work with Braavo, because they're in the stage that they need external resources the most in reality, and so and it's always a pleasure. And please feel free to get in touch, add me on LinkedIn, again, message, and we kind of understand the stage of some of the companies you're in. And I said there's always some assistance, and the least is this product market fit assessment that we try to roll it out, and I would love to try it out with some beta users to also improve that assessment, because it improves the entire community and ecosystem. And I would love everybody in this call to be trying it out. So when it's ready, so it'll be good kind of use for that.
Okay, great.
I do have to hop off. So I will speak to you later. Thank you so much.
Me too as well.
Thank you, Leila. One more quick thing. Leila, you can hop off, but Fouad, I just wanted to reiterate again that you guys are offering this 20% discount for Braavo's community for Q1. So it sounds like in addition to this PMF assessment, now would be a really great time for businesses to be reaching out to you. So how do you recommend they get in touch?
Yeah, feel free to fill out the form on our website, and in the description box mention that I saw in the Braavo webinar, and there's a 20% offer. And but you will be talking to Tegan. He will get most of the inquiries. He's in our sales team and he's aware of that. So just mention that in the description about Braavo's, and then Tegan will honor that.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks everyone for being here today. Thank you everyone in the chat, your questions, and you will be getting this recording in your email soon. Thank you guys.
Yeah, our pleasure. Take care. Bye.
Bye.